Been a massive fan of the Alien franchise. I've always wanted to make something from that particular group of films, and recently I've been watching Alien Earth and it's thoroughly inspired me. Welcome to Creative Making. My name's Pete, and in this video I'm going to make an Ovomorph. So we're going to start with this. It's a polystyrene egg that I bought from Amazon. It's pretty cheap. I think it was about £10. Comes in two halves there. I know this is quite small. I haven't got enough space to put a large full-size egg pod in my house. So obviously I'm gluing that together. This is actually just normal super glue. It did melt the foam a little bit, but it still worked. It still held it together. So obviously for this, I needed to cut the bottom off basically, because otherwise it'll roll around the table. So I've just got my hot wire cutter out, slice that bottom bit off. Just a word of warning, if you are going to use these, just make sure you've got plenty of extraction or you've got a mask on. I had a mask on for this. Okay, so to make all the detail, I'm using this foam clay. I don't know if it's standard foam clay. I usually see it black on YouTube. But anyway, this is white. It's very cool stuff. I can see lots of uses for it in the future. So obviously the first thing I want to do is I want to start sculpting the flaps, lips, petals of the egg. So to do that, I'm just doing the old sausage there, just rough up that surface a bit of water, and away we go. As I say, I don't know if it's normal foam clay, but with this, it does start to dry out in the hands pretty quick, but all you have to do is put a little bit of water in it and mix it up again. It's perfect. On the packaging, it says you can make slime with it as well. Pretty weird. So once they're on, and I'm kind of happy with the shape, I start blending that in a little bit to the polystyrene. I'm not too fussed about getting a perfect blend in there. You'll see why in a second. I just use a bit of water in my thumb, and then eventually I just swapped over to that mixing stick. I'm surprised how sticky this stuff is. It doesn't feel sticky in the hand, but once it sat on that polystyrene for a few minutes, it was really stuck. As you can see, I'm being pretty rough at the moment. And this is why I wasn't that bothered about blending it all in, because I need to cover this all with these. It's one of those jobs that I wish I'd never started, but it's worth it once I'd finished. So about 6 or 7 hours in, that was all done, and it's now time to work on the, what do you even call these, the inside of the petals? Flaps? I don't know. Let me know down in the comments what you think these should be called. Keep it clean. Anyway, so I'm just using my sculpting tools just to kind of blend that in a little bit. I'm aware that this foam clay does shrink over time, so I didn't expect this to remain the same once it had dried. And there we go, it's looking pretty cool. So once that's done, I'm just going to leave that to one side for it to dry. For the base for this, I've got these things. I've 3D printed these on my Bamboo Labs A1 printer. For those of you that don't recognise these, they're actually the replica of the floor panels that were used in the Nostromo in Alien. They were later used on the floor panels in Aliens. So they're pretty iconic if you're an Alien nerd. So I just printed these out. I just needed to sand the edges up and make sure they fitted nice before I glued them together. For that I'm using my Permagrit sanding block. These things are amazing. So I made sure that fitted, and then I used a bit of super glue to glue that together. You'll see here I use a couple of 1, 2, 3 blocks to weight this down. I think when I'd taken one of these plates off the 3D printer too soon, it was a bit warped. But anyway, that's fine. So once that glue's dried, I sand the other edge just to get a nice flat edge. So I did the same with the other two, and then eventually glued all four of them together. This gave me obviously a nice big base. Okay, so get some greaseproof paper down. And the reason I'm putting that down is because I'm going to coat this in some Mod Podge matte. Just going to give this a coating of the Mod Podge, and that just gives it a nice kind of leathery, smooth finish. The next thing I want to do is take some Mod Podge and some black acrylic paint and give those a proper good mix. So for this I'm going to almost do like decoupage or paper mache over the whole thing. So I'm using just standard toilet paper and this Mod Podge and paint mix. This gives me a really fine sort of texture over the whole thing. It also seals everything in and stops any of those little blobs from dropping off. So once that's done, you can see the flaps kind of smoothed out and flattened out a little bit. So I just went in with a Dremel just to define that gap in there. And then we put that to one side and we're back with the base. So I don't know if this is the case on the egg pods from Alien or Alien Earth, but I know on the egg pods in Aliens, they seem to have kind of a little mess of tentacles around the base. I can only imagine it's to help it grip onto surfaces, things like that. But I really liked that detail, so I wanted to add that to this particular project. So for that I'm just using some pink foam, obviously my hot wire cutter. Again, wear a mask if you're doing this. And then just lots of cutting and sanding and dremeling and what have you until I was happy with the shape. So I forgot to video it, but I did Dremel it as well. And here's the final thing before I cover it over. And there we go. So you can see on the base there, I've changed it a little bit. I'll explain more about that in a second. What I want to do first is I want to get those tentacles all kind of detailed up. So I'm covering that with the foam clay as well. And I also took advantage of the stringiness of the foam clay. So once I'd covered these main tentacles up, I pulled some of the foam clay out to make lots of little strings, and I used that to kind of dress it all up so it just looked a bit more detailed. There we go, that's it, kind of ready to be left to dry, so really detailed. Okay, back to the egg. I'm going to start painting the egg now. I'm just using bog standard acrylics for this. And the airbrush. I won't go into too many details about this, you can kind of see what I'm doing. So a bit of pink in there. And some browns and some greens and blacks and all kinds of colours really. I didn't really want to go for like a specific egg, kind of a bit of a hybrid of them all really. But I don't like the eggs that are later that I've got really sculpted detail on them, like, you know, anatomy and stuff like that. I really like the originals, so this is kind of more leaning towards that. Anyway, so I'll continue to paint, as I say, lots and lots of different browns and blacks and greens. And then once that was all done, gave the whole thing a coat of Mod Podge just to seal the whole surface. And actually once this is dry, even though it's matte, it gives it a really nice kind of leathery sheen. Should have worn my gloves for this. So I'm just stippling that in there so we don't get any brush marks in it. And there we go, leave that to dry. And we're on to the base. Now you can see I've made the front of this round. Because the egg goes here and the tentacles are all along here, I just felt like this was a more elegant shape to show off the piece, so it's round at the front. Anyway, sanding this down, that green filler there, that's 3M spot putty. Quite expensive stuff, but it's excellent for this type of work. Just using my scalpel to sharpen things out. Bit of Scotch pad on the Dremel, all kinds of stuff. And there we go. Going to give it a coat of black paint. The base is ready. Here's the egg, all leathery and nice. And I've stuck it onto the tentacles. I've just used more of that foam clay to stick it on. Obviously they don't look right being white, so I need to paint those up. For that I'm using FW acrylic inks. And I just start by splashing it on with the brush and then realising that probably wasn't the best idea, so I turn to my airbrush. The colour I'm using for these tentacles is antelope brown. It's got a real nice kind of greeny yellow Xenomorph egg colour. So here I'm just actually spraying a load of gloss acrylic varnish over it to seal it in. There we go. So that's the egg pretty much done, so we'll put that to one side and work on the base. Now you can see here I've got kind of like a metallic-y finish. I did a few tests. It turns out that the best results, or my favourite results at least, was this graphite powder. It's really fine, this stuff, so make sure you wear a mask. And basically you just dust it on to your black surface and you get a real nice, subtle, kind of worn steel finish. Works really well. The only thing with this stuff is it's an absolute mess. Look at that. Anyway, so I'll clean that up. Okay, so there it is. That's the egg, pretty much done. Did get a comment off a friend of mine, showed some pictures, said it needs more slime. So let's get this stuck down onto the base and let's get that slime on it. So to stick it down, I'm using a hot glue gun and this black hot glue. It sticks like crazy and you can't really see it. So to gloss it up, I'm using UV resin. This is just clear UV resin. I'm just going to dribble it into the top there because I want it to kind of drip down, which it does. But also I want it to cover the whole egg in this stuff. Not completely cover it, but just give it a kind of stipple and a paint all over it to make it look sort of wet. Just give it a light cure there with the light. And I just decided to work into the whole thing. Not only does this make it look wet, but when you take photographs of it, or like I'm doing here, filming it, it really makes all this detail pop with all those little kind of spots of light and reflective surfaces. So a bit of sponge then. Some more of that UV resin, and I'm just going to stipple that all over the place. I'm not 100% covering it, I just want it to get a good layer. And then blast it with the UV light. And that is that. Pretty simple, low budget alien egg. I think it's worked out pretty well. I'm fairly happy with that. I think maybe if I do another one, I'll do it so it's open. But what do you think? Let me know down in the comments. I've really enjoyed doing this. If you've enjoyed watching this video, please give me a like and share to all your alien xenomorph friends. And if you haven't already done so, please give me a subscribe. It costs absolutely nothing and it really does help the channel. And if you'd like to help support the channel, just click the QR code at the end of this video and buy me a coffee. Thanks everybody, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!